Now, me personally over here at this channel, we do facts over feelings. And it's your opinion that you think this Sukuna of all characters is a 5 out of 10 villain. Personally, even with the most controversial chapter that he came out with him, yeah, no, I'm sorry, he's a 10 out of 10. Like, there isn't many characters that you can say have the same, like, overall pop culture pull that Sukuna does. But sure. If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yeah, and his own life, also he cannot be my disciple. Luke 14:26.
A few minutes later.
So, I think it's safe to say that Dragon Ball does have a stakes issue. And what I mean by that is every single story that has been new, quote unquote, it has not been anywhere near the end of Z continuity. I know this because even Dragon Ball Daima, the most recent animation, takes place literally smack dab at the very tail end of the Buu saga. Like literally right after the Buu saga, there's Daima, and then we're led to believe somehow that this also leads into Super, even though none of the characters and none of the information about these ever comes up again in Super. But you know, Daima fans are still gonna come up in my comments as per usual, but let me not piss them off today. Instead, let's just talk about an issue that we can all agree on. There is a stakes issue in the world of Dragon Ball. There is nothing testing or pushing the characters, even in the most integral moments of, Dragon Ball Super or the modern Dragon Ball, if you will. Literally nothing has happened to test our characters. Not really. And what do I mean by that? We all know they're going to be fine because this takes place before the end of Z. That's literally why I already know that the Black Frieza stuff, the other characters, the Beerus situations, every single character that we see, we know they're going to be fine because nothing's going to happen to them. We know nothing's going to happen to them because, again, end of Z issue. And that's the greater theme of this video. I think the reason why the producers, the showrunners, and everyone who's involved with Dragon Ball in the modern day and age, I think the reason why they keep making stories, outside of the end of Z timeline is mainly so, for one, sales, and for two, it's easier to tell stories about characters that you know they're going to be perfectly fine. You can't really, have like a, nail biting, knee scratching, knee slapping, stress inducing fight with the characters that you love and grown up with because you know nothing's going to happen to them. And even if we already know that retroactively there's nothing going to happen to these characters over a long period of time, even though we know longevity wise nothing can happen to them, the good guys have to win, still having that air of danger, not knowing what's going to happen, actually adds to the story. That's why, again, say whatever you want about GT, personally speaking, there's stakes in this show. We know at the end of the day that their story might not continue. We know this because, again, this is after the end of Z, meaning that these characters are in uncharted territory. You know for a fact that anything could happen and anyone could just get gone, or at least you feel that way when you're, enthralled in the story, of course. But anytime you're not, you're just like, okay, they're gonna be fine though. Like, this is before they even grew up fully. This is before the timeline that we know that comes after. The thing that always bothered me about Dragon Ball Super, why isn't it after the end of Z? Like truthfully told, like, why isn't it after the end of Z? It genuinely makes no sense why it's not. Like, I'm not even trying to be that guy. It genuinely makes no sense why it's not at the end of Z. Like, every single story is fine. Every single story would be so great and would be enhanced tenfold if it was just set in the end of Z timeline. If it was just set after that world tournament with Oob and all these other characters, all of my complaints for a lot of Dragon Ball Super wouldn't be there anymore. Because for, again, stakes would exist again, characters can get tested, limits can be pushed, etc., without having the also warm and cuddly security blanket that is, oh yeah, we're still not here yet, but we're here though. We're like right here, but not right here. It's weird. Like, personally, I have never been a fan of how Dragon Ball Super tends to just not have the end of Z timeline ever get scratched. And every time we have a time skip, it's still not on the end of Z timeline. Even a superhero movie like Goten and Trunks are basically the ages they're supposed to be, in the end of Z, yet they're not in the end of Z timeline yet. It's so weird. It's like, dude, I genuinely wish I understood why they're telling the story this way. Because, like, again, marketing, of course, money, of course, longevity. I get these things, I truly do, but at the end of the day, it's Dragon Ball. Like, can we get like more continuity where, like, after this, because I'm so tired, and I know for a fact that even the the diehard super fans can even say we're kind of tired of being in this limbo state of Dragon Ball. Like, they're just never able to progress past this point in time canonically. If you want to look at GT as non-canon, let's just do that. The Dragon Ball characters are never able to progress. It's like they're stuck in a bubble of never getting past this timeline, even though they're still young-ish in the end of Z, you know, barring Bulma, of course. But it's like, there's no problem with it. And of course, with it being, you know, in the not so end of Z timeline right now, it makes a lot of character decisions make even less sense, because now you have to retcon all of the things that happened in that timeline. You have to have an entirely new end of Z timeline, because of course, there's no way we're led to believe that all of this still takes place within the canonical ending of Dragon Ball Z. Because again, none of the characters are referenced, none of these experiences happen, and none of it ever will happen. It's like Daima, but this is an even bigger issue, because with this being said, there's so much more lore that happened on screen that we're led to believe is still canon to the end of Z. And I just don't see how I'm supposed to believe that. It's obviously going to get changed, that's great, but at the end of the day, at what cost? What are we doing this for? Like, what's the point of any of these stories if they genuinely don't matter? Because we're, again, not on the real end game. We're not past the end timeline. Why are we not past the end of the timeline? I couldn't tell you. I can only give y'all my headcanon. Other than that, I will see y'all in the next video. Peace. So let me know what y'all think about me putting like the shout outs in the very beginning of the video and then getting into the Bible verse and then getting into the video. What y'all think of that? I do like it because it does get y'all immediately hooked into the video. I don't know. It's just me. Anyway, peace.